Alright, what's up, y'all? So check it out. Today I'm gonna do a reaction video. I usually don't do them, but this video is intense. It's based off of the Alan Watts speech called Suppose You Were God. And this content creator, his name is, or the name of his channel rather, is called Mind Mirror Philosophy. It's a relatively small channel. It only has like 200 something subscribers, but their content is amazing. This is a really good video. I suggest that everybody check them out and maybe subscribe if you like it. This video is legit though. So I'm going to let it play and I'm going to try to interject as little as possible. Okay. But yeah, so I'm going to let it play now.
Now let's suppose you are God for just a moment. Imagine you have all of time, all of eternity, and unlimited power at your disposal. Every possible existence is yours to command. What would you do with that kind of freedom? Perhaps you'd start with your deepest desires, all the joys and pleasures you'd ever dreamed of, instantly yours, without struggle or delay. Think about it. Nothing out of reach, nothing forbidden, just pure, unending bliss on your terms. You could dream up a perfect paradise in the blink of an eye. Luscious feasts never end, flowing like ambrosia.
So I'm going to stop it right there real quick. I know I would. I would indulge in so much hedonism. If somebody turned me into God, the first 20 hours, I'm just going crazy. Lamborghinis, people feeding me grapes. I'm going to be jumping in pools of rice pudding because I love rice pudding more than anything in this world. I would just be going crazy with the hedonism. So, and everybody would, right? Your first few hours of being God, okay.
Ideal fantasies, adventures across worlds of your own design. Music so exquisite it sends shivers down your spine. Colors and landscapes beyond anything a mortal mind has ever imagined. It's all there, and it's all for you, because you are the author of it. Night after night, you revel in the ecstasy of your own creation. Every wish granted before it's even fully formed. Every thrill delivered the instant you desire it. You experience pleasures so intense, joys so profound, that no ordinary life could ever compare. It feels like heaven, your own personal heaven,
We would all
where
do that.
you are the absolute ruler of reality.
Yep.
But after countless nights of perfection, something strange begins to happen. A faint restlessness stirs inside you. An unexpected feeling creeps in, growing with each perfectly predictable day. Boredom. Yes, even paradise can grow dull when it holds no surprises. When every wish is fulfilled without effort, every adventure
Even paradise can grow dull when there are no surprises. Wow. All right.
plotted out before it begins. Eventually, it all becomes routine. The shine of heavenly perfection begins to fade. You find yourself yearning for something unpredictable, something that isn't already under your complete control. Though you decide to spice things up, you introduce a little uncertainty, a little risk into your dreams. Just enough to make your heart beat faster. You realize that without the element of the unknown, even omnipotence feels empty. You dream up adventure. This time, you won't just lounge in golden palaces being fed grapes. No, you cast yourself as a hero, a quest. There are challenges to overcome, threats to face down. You give yourself danger and suspense, obstacles that test your wits and courage.
We would all do that. We would all start to test ourselves. And if you say you wouldn't do that, you're lying because you probably play video games and you do not keep the video game on the easiest setting. You start to make it harder and harder and harder.
Maybe in one dream you're slaying dragons to rescue a village from destruction. You feel the heat of the dragon's breath, the adrenaline pumping as you risk your life to save others. In another, you're an explorer, braving uncharted lands, not knowing what lies beyond the next mountain. For the first time in your existence, you feel genuine excitement, because now there is something at stake. For a while, that absolutely satisfies you. The rush of being a hero, of flirting with danger and coming out triumphant, adds the flavor you craved. You revel in the glory and the adrenaline. But as the novelty fades again, you realize even grand adventures follow a script when you're the one writing it. You always know you'll win in the end, because after all, you're still secretly in control. So you raise the stakes. You give yourself more outrageous challenges, deeper uncertainty. You relinquish a little more control so that the outcome isn't always a foregone conclusion. You let the dragons grow bigger, the labyrinths more twisted, the battles more brutal. Anything to
Dragons grow bigger, the labyrinths more twisted. So basically what he's saying is that you're going to keep raising the stakes until you forget that you're actually the one in control. Because your regular adventures got too boring because you knew you would win at the end. You knew you were in control. So you're going to raise the stakes until you get deeper and deeper and deeper into this illusion and you get lost in it. That's when the real adventure starts, when you forget that you're the one that created it.
feel that edge of uncertainty again. Finally, you dare yourself to take the ultimate risk, to truly not know what's coming. You say to yourself, tonight, I'm going to dream a dream that I don't know is a dream. You're going to blindfold your own omniscience and see what happens when you stumble in the dark. In this dream, everything feels real and you have no memory that it's all your own creation. You completely forget that none of it can truly hurt you. You give yourself over to the illusion entirely.
But we see little
When
clues.
danger comes, you feel actual fear clawing at your heart. When loss strikes, you weep as though your pain will last forever. When you fall in love, you love with desperation, as if you could truly lose it all. For the first time, it's all real to you. And what a shock, when after this intense dream you finally wake up. You open your eyes, still trembling from the terror of heartache you just felt. And for a moment, you don't even know where you are. Then it hits you. It was just a dream. Perhaps you laugh out loud in sheer relief. All that danger and pain, and yet here you are, safe and whole. Hard to believe that moments ago you were utterly convinced it was real. You lie there catching your breath, amazed at what you just put yourself through. You've discovered something precious, the thrill of true uncertainty, and the blissful relief of surviving it. For the first time in eons, you feel genuinely alive, precisely because for a while, you forgot who you were. Naturally, being the adventurous spirit you are, you decide to dive even deeper into this experience. If one night of not knowing was that exhilarating, why not push it further? Night after night, you craft increasingly elaborate dreams where you abandon knowledge of your true self. You live entire lifetimes within these dreams, with every detail filled in. Whole decades pass in these imagined worlds where you have no idea that you are the creator. You experience heights of joy you never knew before, because now joy is earned against the odds. And you plunge into pits of suffering you never thought you could endure, because now the pain feels real.
So that answers, why does God allow evil? Why does God allow suffering? Because that's part of the adventure, right? If you're going to delve fully into an immersive reality, if somebody gave you VR, virtual reality, you want it to be scary. You want to suffer. You want to be happy. You want to feel a whole range of emotions, I know it doesn't feel that way. It just feels like cope. But I think this is the most likely explanation of our reality, right? I had an experience on, I forgot what it was, some psychedelic I shouldn't have taken. And I felt like I was the only point of consciousness. It was creepy. And then I went on Reddit and another guy felt the same way, almost word for word what I experienced on that psychedelic. It was Hawaiian baby rose seeds. You really feel like you created all this, it's really creepy. But the point is that we shouldn't take life too seriously. Live your life, have adventures, because what if this is just you experiencing yourself? Like, why are you playing it safe? This is not to bum you out. This is for us to remind ourselves that we should just have fun, experience life, go do those things you wanted to do. I just signed up for a motorcycling class, and I actually failed the motorcycle safety class because I couldn't work the clutch, but I'm going to practice and I'm going to go back. But at this point in my life, I'm like, this is just a big game. Have fun. Do the craziest things you wanted to do, because you could just be God experiencing itself. And, so anyway, I'm going to shut up now.
And unbearable. You explore every extreme. One dream you're living in luxury and power, another you're a beggar in the streets. You know the ecstasy of first love and
Poverty.
the anguish of heartbreaking loss. You taste victory and defeat, courage and despair. Every flavor of existence, you drink it in as if it were real. Time after time, when each dream life ends, you wake up and it all washes away like fog in the morning light. No matter how dark or painful the dream was, it doesn't leave a single scratch on the real you. Each time you emerge as you've always been, the infinite, untouched self, safe and sound outside the dream, looking back.
And real quick, I think that's why we also dream. The dream is a microcosm of the macrocosm. So when we dream at night and we have these crazy adventures in our dream, we wake up. That's telling us that, hey, like life is a dream, like this is what your reality is. It reminds us every night that our bigger reality is also a dream. Okay.
With a hint of cosmic amusement. The nightmares were horrifying while they lasted, but they were never truly real. They were just a show, your own divine play. So then, let me ask you directly, how do you know that's not exactly what you're doing at this very moment? Think about it. This life you're living now, with all its thrills and ordeals, its ups and downs, what if it's just one of those dreams? What if right now, you are the all-powerful being, dreaming so convincingly that you've completely forgotten who you really are? I know, it sounds absurd at first, maybe even arrogant or insane. Your rational mind is kicking and screaming in protest. You feel the solidity of the world around you, the weight of your responsibilities, the sting of your past hurts. And you think, no, this has to be real. I can't just be dreaming this. My struggles, my pain, my plans, they matter. Of course they matter. A dream feels real when you're in it. Haven't you ever woken up from a nightmare with your heart pounding, grateful it wasn't true? Or woken from a beautiful dream aching because it ended? While it lasts, a dream is utterly convincing. Only when you wake up do you see it differently. So I'll ask again, what if some part of you is already awake, watching this life like a vivid dream? What if the real you, the greater you, is gently trying to nudge you into remembering? Maybe little hints have appeared, moments of deja vu.
These hints are reality breakdowns. When you look at the media, you see things that couldn't possibly have happened the way that they're reporting. So those little hints are synchronicities and what we call in the truther community as reality breakdowns. I think Matt McKinley was one of the first people to start using that term.
Or uncanny coincidence. Whispers from the part of you that knows this is a game. What if you are far more than just this flesh and blood character? What if you are the dreamer, not just the dream? Consider the possibility that you're a single player who has been every character, a single vast consciousness that is even now imagining itself to be you, and to be everyone else as well. In ancient wisdom, especially in the East, there is a name for this cosmic game: Lila, the divine play. It is said that Brahman, the ultimate reality, plays all the parts in existence. In other words, the one self, the true God, is playing hide and seek with itself through every person, every creature, every thought, every experience. Think about it. If you are truly God and there is something outside of you, how do you avoid being alone? You play a game with yourself. You'd split yourself into a myriad of pieces. You'd pretend you are not you. You'd become literally everyone and everything, just so you could have others to interact with, adventures to live, stories to tell. You cast yourself as a hero and a villain, king and beggar, lover and enemy. Each life you live, you wear a different mask, and you wear it so well that you forget who's behind it. In this grand game, you, the one, have lived through every possible experience. You've been the child and the old man, the prince and the pauper. You've known every joy and every sorrow because it's all your cosmic play. You wander so far from yourself that you honestly believe you're just a poor little me, a tiny separate creature born to suffer and eventually die. That's part of the game's thrill. The deeper the illusion, the more powerful the moment of awakening. You get yourself so completely lost in these farthest out adventures, some unimaginably beautiful, some unspeakably horrific, that eventually in each storyline something in you starts to seek a way back. And eventually, in one form or another, you do find your way back. Sooner or later, the hide and seek comes to an end, and the seeker finds what was hiding. Because in the end, the dreamer always wakes up. The play eventually ends and the actors step off the stage. The masks come off, and only the one self remains, finally remembering who it really is. Sometimes that moment of awakening comes at the very end of a life. In the moment of death, the instant the curtain falls. Perhaps then you recall, with a cosmic chuckle, that it was all one big act. But the awakening doesn't have to wait until the end. It's possible, just possible, to wake up right here and now, in the midst of the dream. To realize while the story is still unfolding, that you are both the storyteller and the hero.
So one thing I want to add from the most profound psychedelic message I got, and I made a video on this and I talk about this many times, I got a download that said, everything that happens to you is a lesson in love and that we take life too seriously. The first one was we take life too seriously and that everything that happens is a lesson in love. So one thing I would add to this guy's wonderful video is that if God is experiencing itself, it's doing it ultimately to learn more about itself, which is love. And how do you learn about love? Well, you have to see the opposite of love, which is, pain, suffering, hate, all the horrors that we see in the world, right? So in order to know yourself, you have to know the opposite of you, right? All right.
Alan Watts put it simply, when you're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up, not a moment sooner. You see, until you're ready, you'll continue to play your part. Continue pretending you're just this isolated, powerless being at the mercy of a world outside your control. You'll stay lost in the character, convinced that all you are is this fragile form, this fleeting story. You'll insist the dream is all there is, until the day something in you finally decides to open your eyes.
We're not powerless.
So ask yourself plainly, are you ready to wake up? Or does the comfort of your familiar story still hold you back? Be honest. It's okay if you feel hesitant. This is the biggest leap there is. It's completely understandable to be scared. The ego, the little me you think you are, clings desperately to its identity. It fears its own end. To the ego, waking up feels like dying, because in a sense, it is a kind of death. It's the death of the illusion, the end of the little narrative that you've been telling yourself your whole life. When that illusion shatters, it can be terrifying. The small self doesn't want to vanish. The thought of losing who you think you are, even if that self is full of pain and limitations, is frightening. Better the devil you know than the unknown beyond. That's how most people feel, consciously or not. And so most people shrink from this truth. They'll do anything to avoid questioning the reality of their lives too deeply. They'll distract themselves endlessly or double down on their beliefs and routines, all to avoid facing the possibility that things are not what they seem. They cling to their identities and their stories, even if those cause suffering, because at least they're familiar, at least they feel solid, like ground underfoot. They prefer a familiar misery to an unfamiliar freedom. They would rather blame fate or blame others or even blame God then entertain the idea that they might be the ones pulling the strings. The responsibility of being the dreamer is too great, too shocking. So they stay asleep.
The responsibility of being the dreamer is too great. Yup. People don't want to be responsible for their own reality.
Most people will live and die never suspecting that they were the very thing they were seeking. But then there is you. And I suspect you are not like most people. Most would have clicked away from this video by now, too uneasy or disinterested to continue. But you're still here. You've listened this far, and that tells me something. It tells me that some part of you is already stirring from that dream. You haven't come all this way just to slip back into ignorance. Something in you hungers for the truth, no matter how unsettling it might be. Something in you is daring to peek behind the curtain of this reality. Maybe you can't articulate why, but you feel it. That pull towards
That's all
something
this channel's
real,
about.
something vast and undeniable.
Peeking.
With that desire for truth comes a kind of power. Yes, this knowledge we're talking about is unsettling. It can turn your world upside down, but it's also profoundly liberating. It means that nothing in your life has ever been merely random or meaningless suffering. Every joy and every pain had its place in the grand play, and none of it was ever able to truly hurt the real you. How could it, if the real you is the one dreaming it? All of it, the triumphs and tragedies, the loves and losses, has always been you, expressing yourself in different forms. You were the hero and the villain, the giver and the taker, the victor and the victim. You've been every mask in the play, without ever ceasing to be the one who is playing. This understanding.
I just clicked. That may be why people say that when you hurt others, you're actually hurting yourself. Okay, it's starting to click now. Because if you're that consciousness too, you're just hurting yourself because you're all the same consciousness. It's like in a dream, when you hurt somebody in a dream, you're really just hurting yourself. You're the same consciousness as that person. Very interesting. That doesn't mean that person doesn't experience pain. You know, it could also be experiencing its own sentience, right? Sentience. But that consciousness, that thing that animates it, is the same thing that animates you. So it's like God is a hand. Consciousness is a hand, but a glove. So I've heard it described as different characters, but the same actor. So when you're hurting somebody else, you're hurting yourself because you guys share the same consciousness, right? The pain you feel is how they feel pain because they're the same consciousness. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me.
Daunting as it is, puts your whole life in a new light. If you truly grasp this, even for an instant, you'll feel a weight lift off you. Because you'll realize you were never truly trapped. The walls that felt like a prison were made of shadows, of dreams and illusions. In reality, you're free. You always have been. The real you cannot be contained by any situation or defined by any story, because it is the author of all stories. Now that you begin to see the game for what it is, the question becomes, how will you play it, knowing what you know? Will you pretend you never heard any of this? Will you dismiss it as just a fancy thought experiment and rush back to the comfort of normal life? Will you hit the snooze button and roll over, refusing to wake up just yet? Or will you choose to live differently now? Will you live with the daring and freedom of someone who understands that at the deepest level, they cannot lose? Will you face life's ups and downs with the courage that comes from knowing it's all part of a greater play?
That's deep.
Do not let this just be an interesting story you heard and forgot.
This should inspire us to live bravely. Just experience all this dream has to experience. You can't lose. You're the one ultimately controlling it. You're the one that accepted this. So live your life fearlessly. Do not be afraid. You know, if you knew, let's say you're in a dream and you know you could, once I know I'm in a dream when I go to sleep at night, I'm like, oh, I can fly. I can fly now. I can do whatever I want. So I think we should all live bravely. Don't be afraid of life too much, because this is all an experience. All right.
Do not let the ego scurry away with new excuses. Do something with this realization, even if that something is as subtle as pausing to really look at your life right now with new eyes. Because here's the truth. If you stay still, you fall back to sleep. And if you fall back to sleep, you know what awaits you. Another life on autopilot. Before we close, leave a comment, just one sentence, not a reaction, not a slogan, just one brutally honest line that marks the moment you stopped lying to yourself. If any part of this struck a deep chord in you, consider subscribing. Not for my sake, but for yours, because this journey is just...
All right, so this dude, Mind Mirror Philosophy, subscribe. This is a profound video. I don't know why it only has 226 subscribers to this channel. It's a profound video. I'm going to leave the link in the description. All right, take care, y'all.